I'm Eliyahu Hai, and I'm very, very happy to say hello to an old friend who I love very much. I haven't seen much of him in the past 10 years, but he's an amazing, in my opinion, spiritual teacher, and now he's a musician, and we're going to talk a little bit about music, among other things. And he's just had a tremendous, powerful spiritual journey, which I know maybe just a little bit about until now. And so, Shalom, Anomarel, how are you?
I'm good, my friend.
Okay.
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very, very happy to have you here. It's a big honor. So, we met about 10 years ago.
At least, yeah.
I think 11.
Yeah, probably more.
Okay, 11 or 12 years ago. And we were both students of a teacher from the United States called Deborah West. And she was a very powerful, important teacher, I think you would agree, for both of us. And we both, went on to other things since then. And so anyway, tell me a little bit about your spiritual path. Did you always have this strong spiritual connection that I've known you with as long as I've known you?
Probably. You know how people sometimes talk about, something happens in a life that throws you into the spiritual world. Wasn't really the case for me in a way. I don't really remember a life without it.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't always dressed as spiritual, meaning I had no idea what spiritual thought was, or that it was called that until maybe teenager or something like that. But the quest or the search or the longing for something within was, as far as I remember, the questions were always there, and the seeking was always there, always. Never really
Okay.
changed.
So you've been a seeker all your life?
Yeah, a seeker is one way to say it. I would say that for most of my life I was uncomfortable in the world, so I sought a way out of it, or a way in it, or a way to make sense out of it.
Okay. A lot of people could make a statement like that. And so what were some of the key, well, how shall I say it, the key places along your journey?
Good question. How far back do we go?
Well, let's go all the way back.
So back. Well, I would say that the first thing that was like a thought of there could be something else out there came from just stories, children's stories, and then later on when I was a bit older, science fiction or fantasy stories. And then that went into physics. Physics was actually a first spiritual doorway for me, strangely enough, but it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was young when I was interested in theoretical physics. I was maybe 10 or 11.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've always known you were very special. How old are you now, Anomarel?
I'm 37.
37. Okay. You were interested in theoretical physics?
Yeah, because it wasn't, it's not like I understood the math or anything, but the thoughts caught me. The fact that the universe could be something other than what we're looking at, and like that. No, the thing is, nobody told me it was supposed to be theoretical. So I would read an idea like quantum physics or whatever it is that I could find.
At age 11?
Yeah.
Or 10?
Something like that, yeah. and I would go out to the dunes outside of my house and try to actually perceive the world as it was described by my quantum physics. Problem was, there was at least one time when it actually worked.
Meaning what?
Meaning, well, if I could explain that one. Meaning the world kind of evaporated or ceased to make physical sense in the moment. It was just an experience. We all have spiritual experiences. Most of them, at least the deep ones, are ones that we cannot really describe in words afterwards. We can try. Irina Tweedy used to say that words are for after.
Okay.
So I couldn't really describe it, but something broke in my perception of the world. So if I could take a pivotal point, I would say that was my first conscious, knowing spiritual experience. That would probably be it.
What, and like the picture of the world just disappeared, or what?
It changed into something different. It's like we perceive the world in very in a conditioned way. Among other things like past and present and future. What comes out of something, the role of
yes,
reason and outcome. All these things.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect, exactly. Sorry, my English sometimes lacks. So all these things are influencing the way we perceive the world. Now, at that moment, things kind of didn't exist in that way. So the perception changed as well. And it changed physically. I saw the world different. Couldn't describe for you exactly what it was like. You have to remember, it was nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Memory is not what it was. But I do remember the aftermath, the imprint of the experience very, very strongly. And that kind of opened me up to different ways of thoughts on life. So in the years to pass, afterwards, I tried everything I could think of. Anything from tarot cards to acting as a trance medium in sciences to...
Acting as a trance medium?
Medium in sciences when I was about 14, yeah. I had a natural gift with that one.
What do you mean?
I would let something enter me and speak. I don't know what it was, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To studying Kabbalah at the age of 13 and 14 with a person who just saw me somewhere and said, you need to study with me. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, just on and on and on and on. I was essentially a puppy going after its tail. Nobody taught me. There was no guidance in anywhere. And it became quite dark after a while. It wasn't, I didn't know what I was looking for. I wasn't guided. I wasn't supported. Nobody understood, again, 30 years ago.
Yes, yes.
So I didn't know, and I made many mistakes and fumbled around many things.
When you say quite dark, what do you mean?
Well, sometimes you mistake what you really want for something else. So I searched at times for power.
Okay. Okay.
Or for the ability to do some things and achieve things that I couldn't in my circumstance, or things that could possibly corrupt the way that you work. And actually eventually they did that, and I stopped. As a spiritual seeker, I consciously stopped since I was about 18 till maybe 20-something, 22, 23.
Okay.
Stop completely. Anything.
Alrighty. And, okay. And so what was another key for you along the way?
Well, there was that whole circumstance that eventually led to the teacher I'm studying with today.
Yes. And Deborah West.
Deborah West was instrumental in that.
Led you to Nora.
Essentially, she did that. Yeah.
Yes. And what was the? Well, we studied with Deborah together. Okay.
Yeah, true.
So what did you learn from that experience?
The honest truth.
Yes.
A couple of things. First of all, not to mistake spiritual power with spiritual achievement.
Aha. Okay.
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 Deborah had a lot of spiritual power.
Okay. She certainly did.
Yeah. As far as advancement, not so much in my opinion of what I know. And again, this is just what my particular opinion, stemming out of a particular life experience, nothing else. I learned a lot of how not to from her, which is it's a true experience. It's a good one.
Yes, absolutely.
And I learned how to appreciate my current teacher out of.
Okay,
I have absolutely no resentment or bad feelings towards Deborah West whatsoever. I love her to bits. She was an instrumental person in my life, definitely. So Nothing other than that.
As she was in mine,
Yeah.
and I could say the same.
And for many other people that I know.
Yes, I know that.
She actually did. She did a lot of good. Eventually, she did a lot of good.
Anomarel, from when I first knew you, I was shocked because you could see the masters in the angelic beings, and I was envious. I still am of that.
Speaks a man who got his beautiful house by listening to the fairies who told him how to find it.
Well, I didn't hear them, but I was guided here. That's true. I asked them for help, and they really came through. And Pan as well. Okay, so have you always had this ability to see non-physical spiritual beings?
I thought we were going to talk about music.
Yeah, we're going to get to music, and I want you to play.
I will. God willing, I will.
We're getting close to it too. But this is a question.
Okay, no, it's a fair enough question.
Were you born with this?
I guess to an extent the answer would be yes.
So you always saw like angels and masters and stuff like
what
that?
you see has a lot to do with what your experience is and how you interpret what you see. So I couldn't tell you at an earlier age, since I grew up completely secular, utterly, religion was not even considered. I had no...
Yes.
Do I talk to you or talk to your camera?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
So I had no, how to say, background in order to put what I saw into place. So I just saw what I saw. I didn't give it names. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Plus, you're talking about my seeing as something visual. Now here's the thing that I'm not sure you're aware of. I'm not a visual person.
Well,
what you would consider seeing, I call hearing. It forms an image in my mind sometimes, but mostly how I perceive it is sound, not vision.
you perceive it as sound. Don't you mean to say you hear it as sound?
No, perception. Perception. Hearing is a form. I perceive it eventually as sound. I don't know if it's sound, but a bat sees with sounds. So it's.
So does a dolphin, yes.
Yeah, so does a dolphin. So in a way, my perception of the inner worlds has a lot more to do with sound than vision. Now, I'm saying this with caution because neither sound nor vision for me apply to these worlds in a way.
Okay. Okay.
There was a great sage, Yeshayahu, who said that all the words that we use are actually something that we take out from the sacred languages in order to describe the inner worlds.
Okay.
So sound and vision do exist, but they don't exist in the way that we perceive. So, for me, what I perceive is, I can sometimes perceive it as vision, usually I perceive it as sound. And at this point in my life, I try very hard not to perceive anything. I just wait till God shows me what I need to see.
You don't make an effort to see.
No, I make an effort not to see.
But why? I mean, I don't get that. Why, if Jesus wants to come and say hi, or Babaji, or...
Well, if Jesus wants to come to Babaji and say hi, then they will make themselves known and I will see them. I don't really get a choice about that.
Okay.
But with the capacity to see comes the capacity to see many things. And a lot of them just are none of your business. None of my business, at least. And it is a great, and this is something I have learned and am learning still from my teacher, there's a great teaching in kind of keeping yourself in a place in which you only perceive what is truly yours, what truly belongs to you.
Yogananda talked about this. He talked about choosing not to pick up other people's thoughts.
Exactly.
He could read their minds,
Exactly.
but he didn't want to.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
And because it's like a violation. So that's very, very interesting.
My teacher used to say, you become deaf, dumb, and blind for God.
For God.
Yes. God opens your eyes, God opens your mouth, God opens your ears.
Oh, I like that. I like that. In other words, you become his eyes, his mouth, his ears.
When he chooses to do so, yes.
And when he chooses.
Yes.
But in any case, you're always trying to be his representative on earth.
That's true.
That's always.
Of course.
Okay. All right, let's talk about your teacher, who I love as well.
My favorite subject.
Who I love as well, and who I recently interviewed, and you can all watch the interview on my YouTube channel, Elijah's Codes. It's an amazing interview. It blows my mind, the things she said. I'm still recuperating from them.
I've been recuperating for 11 years.
Okay, let's talk about your teacher. Who chose who? Did you choose her as a student, or did
I think this is the place to actually tell you the full story for the first time.
Oh, I would love to hear
Would
the
you like to hear that? Okay.
I think we would all love to hear the full story.
So,
Nora is his teacher.
Nora Lokes.
Nora Lokes, and you could Google that name and read all about her for yourself.
So, about 11 years ago, there was a meeting of Deborah West's school in Sanzerg in Switzerland. Now,
Okay.
as usual, I did not have any money. So I had absolutely no intention to fly there. One of the things that I did for Deborah was I did sound table console. I used to sit at the sound console, and you probably remember,
I remember.
that says our normal sound console person is come.
The fickle finger of fate.
Exactly.
Is that what I said?
And we need you to come. So I said, okay, that's not a problem. However, I have no money. So if you want me to come, you need to pay everything. And I mean, from the moment I step out my door to the moment I step on it. And I was expecting to get a no. The next thing I get is a fax with Deborah's personal credit card number and a notrionic agreement to use it however I wish. I could have emptied her bank accounts.
Oh, she would. She knew you. And
Yeah,
she
well,
knew you.
So I
You were her prize student, like now you've become Nora's prize student. Okay, go ahead.
I'll ignore that particular sentiment.
Okay.
I flew there, and on the way I read a book. And on the book there was a list that counted 10 things that a true spiritual teacher would be. And again, this is my own perception, but to my eyes at that moment, Deborah failed every one of them.
Okay. Let's hope she doesn't. Let's hope she never watches this one.
If she watches Deborah, I love you. However, at that moment, that's what I felt. So I came down the plane in Switzerland, and I had 3 days before everybody else came, and I was completely frustrated. I had no idea what I was going to do, and I broke down. I sat down in this huge room, and I cried to God, and I said, God, if there's a true teacher out there, you might want to send it my way, and if there isn't, I'll manage. And I clean forgot about it. Now, Nora at the time was teaching in Deborah's school, and she was supposed to be there, but she wasn't. Because her mother was on her deathbed.
Okay.
So she stayed in the States. Nora, being Nora, would not give up teaching regardless of her circumstance. So she decided that she's going to teach everything that she intended to teach through transatlantic calls.
Okay.
Now these had to go through the sound console. So I was there every time Nora taught. Okay, within 25 minutes of her speaking, I already knew that was my teacher. I had absolutely no doubt in my mind. And I mean, it was funny. I asked her a couple of serious questions. Some of them are still good questions in a way.
Like?
Well, I had a dichotomy between, and I think that's something that many of us are familiar with. I had a dichotomy, a break between my spiritual life and my physical life.
What does that mean?
It means there were all these spiritual ideals that I lived by, or I tried to live by, but somehow in my normal physical life, I still couldn't live them fully. I would get pissed off, I would get angry, I would get selfish, I would get all these things that you're not supposed to be if you're spiritual. I couldn't make
Bullshit, I would not agree with that, but go ahead.
You are my kindest friend. By far.
No, many grades. Everybody gets angry. That's part of human.
But I understand. And at that time, I didn't know that was purely human. I had this idolized picture of what a spiritual aspiration should be, and I couldn't live the picture. It didn't work. So I asked her what to do about it, and she she actually sent me back to become a Jew.
Okay, I know.
Yeah, you
I
did.
know, because you've been looking like an Orthodox Rebbe for the past 10 years, although now you're not.
True.
Okay.
The reason she did that, which is what she said, was that Judaism was a spiritual way that was bent essentially on living a physical, everyday, normal life in a spiritual way. And as long as I had that break in me, I had a break in a place that was actually designed to fix it.
Okay.
So she sent me back there to learn how to live as a spiritual Jew, which I have. As you've commented in our last conversation, that was an act of, what did you call it?
Obedience.
Obedience, yes. So I was pretty obedient for that. I actually lived it for a long time. I was completely Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox. Actually.
And you look, like I said, you looked the part.
No,
with the long beard.
Yeah, I lived the part.
And the get-up, and you know, the outfit, and
But you know, that's my way of studying also. I study by immersion.
it's a good way to study.
You know?
I mean, I can't think of any other way. Yeah, when in Rome, do as the Romans.
Exactly.
You want to learn Judaism? Then, you know, you dive into it, right?
And I did. Well, I really did.
Okay. Yeah, you're speaking in the past tense, and we can see the beard is gone.
Yeah. You know, a one-day-old stubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't live I don't practice as an Orthodox Jew anymore. I really don't.
Okay.
I keep some of it, mostly on the family level.
Yes.
With my wife and my kids.
Yes.
Preserve the tradition. And I keep holidays, and I pray on the high holidays. I try to live as a righteous Jew as much as I can without taking on the exterior mantle of halakha at this point.
Yes, okay.
But, you know, I have other traditions I'm affiliated with. I have other traditions I live with, so I have to respect all of them.
What do you mean you're affiliated with what?
Well,
I mean, what does that mean anyway, affiliated?
affiliated means that there are traditions that I, for some reason, live in and belong to. Among them, the Muslim tradition.
What does that mean?
What
Do you
is-
pray 5 days?
You know, I don't pray three
5
times. I don't pray 3 times a day as a Jew.
5 times, yes.
So I wouldn't pray 5 times a day as a Muslim, but I have. Okay.
Okay, what else?
Well, when I go to the law to see what the law is, I would look at Muslim law and I would look at Jewish law. And the way I keep, you know, every
What do you mean when you go to the law? What do you mean?
This is something that my teacher teaches heavily. She says that essentially you need the law to know where to put your feet.
Okay.
Okay. Now the law is inner, but it has outer representations. Okay. Outer representations are by nature representations, so they're not 100% accurate, but they give you a good idea. And if you go to a couple of them, you will get a broad picture of what the law is. So for instance, just as a small example, if there's a law about not killing, okay, it would be thou shalt not commit murder in Christianity, thou shalt not kill in Judaism, thou shalt not kill in a way, and part of it in Islam, and thou shalt not step on ants in Buddhism.
Yes.
You know, but essentially it's the same law.
Yes.
So I live with this law as well as I can. This is what I mean by living as a righteous Jew, righteous Muslim, or as a righteous something. I mean living by the inner law.
Okay, and you look to the outer forms to decide which is the right balance for you?
Among other things, yes.
Okay.
I also look to the other forms, and I have my own way, and I am my own person, and I have my own teacher. So oftentimes I would go to Nura to ask, and I say, you know, this is what this law says. What do you feel that I should do in this circumstance? What is the law here? This is how law was taught. It was taught.
Okay.
Okay, from sage to sage. I don't know if that answers your question.
It's sort of, yeah, I understand what you mean. I believe I do anyway. Okay.
And there's also the Sufi traditions, and since the Sufi traditions are affiliated today with Islam, Sufi is older than Islam, but
It is indeed, isn't it?
It is very much older, very much older. But today it is affiliated, and the Sufi language, regardless of which tariqah you talk to, is Islamic by nature today.
Yes.
Okay. So being my teacher's student and her being a Sufi, and I being an accepted student of her, and at this point also an accepted student, kind of by affiliation, but an accepted student of our own teacher, of Sheikh Jamal, I'm obviously affiliated to a Muslim soft Sufi tradition.
Yes, you are.
So I have to respect that, and I do. There's a reason why I live in Abu Ghosh and not in Jerusalem.
Oh, that's interesting. Abu Ghosh is an Arab area.
Well, actually, it's a Muslim. They're not Arabs.
If they're not Arabs, what are they?
They come from Azerbaijan, the northern part of Azerbaijan originally.
Oh, that's very interesting.
They're not Arabs. They're Muslim.
That explains some of the musical instruments that you brought.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
What is this? What is a Sufi anyway?
Well,
I mean, okay, it predates Islam. So what is it if it predates Islam?
Sufi is a spiritual way of the heart.
A spiritual way of the heart.
That's essentially what it is.
And what is that way?
Well, many ways have different paths into self-realization, and then they do God consciousness and God consciousness. In Judaism, we mostly go through the mind to do that. Judaism is mostly a mind.
Yes, I agree with that.
It has parts that are heart-oriented, Hasidic parts, and like this.
Which I hear. That's a huge part of Judaism, the Hasidic.
It is. However, if you take Judaism as a whole, it's more mind-oriented than heart-oriented.
Okay.
So it's just an entry point, you know. So for the Sufi, the entry point would be the heart. The entry point into God would be the heart.
How so? How do they enter through the heart? Maybe the dance.
Well, the dance is part of it. No, this is a hard one to explain. How? Is there a how for this? You just go through the heart. You know, instead of, you know what? A good example would be Rumi's poetry.
Okay.
When you read, and you've obviously, let me help you that before it falls again.
So,
if you read Rumi's poetry, or Hafez poetry, or Yunus Emre, or any of these Sufi poets that we know, where does it go? Where do you steer?
In the heart.
Exactly.
You really do feel it in the heart.
Exactly. So, and if you read Ibn Arabi, even though Ibn Arabi is very mind-oriented, it'll still go to the heart. You know? That's where it will enter. That's their entry point.
So, do they read all these poets, the Sufis? Is it a part of the regular practice?
In traditions, yes, of course. In Turkey, Rumi is read and danced and sang.
How nice! That
yeah.
sounds wonderful.
It's a regular tradition. In the Bektashi tradition in Turkey, they will use Yunus Emre or Haji Bektash or Haji Bektash Vali or Pir Sultan Abdal or others. And yes, they would sing. I mean, one of the beauties of the Turkish version of Sufism is that even today it is so incredibly alive. There are pop songs on the radio that are old Sufi hymns that got a new coating and a new way of performing them. But the words are 400 years old, 500 years old.
Wow.
The meaning is completely spiritual. It's very much alive in there. So yes, of course, they still do that.
Okay. Well, this is a good point to lead off into your music, except I want one or two more things about Nora, about why she is I believe she's a great teacher. I've learned from her. Why, for you, she is your, well, did we, okay, was that the end of your story about how you got to Nora, or was there?
Well, the end of the story is that, I don't know if you knew that, but within the Dervish school, yes, I mean, I was kind of a prodigy, but I was also someone who never committed fully and was chastised for that.
Okay.
So after meeting Nura, I said, finally, I have a teacher here that I can commit to, and I'm willing to commit to the school completely. And I came back to Israel, and 2 weeks later, there's an email from her saying, I'm leaving the school, I love you all, goodbye.
Yes, I know, I remember that. Hold on. Yes?
So that is how I just followed. You know, I wrote her back, I said, I'm heartbroken that you're leaving, can I come with?
Okay.
And she said, sure. And that was it, essentially.
Okay. Why have you left after 10 years of being into Judaism? Why, and being an observant Jew, and why have you gone out of that?
It served its purpose. I knew getting into it that I would come out of it.
Yes.
I had absolutely no doubts. There's a way in which living as an Orthodox Jew limits your life to a certain form. And
well, there's a lot of form in there, isn't there?
yes, but my order from God is not within my tradition. So
yes, I understand that.
it's as simple as that. You know, I speak the language. I can speak with Orthodox Jews. I can speak spiritually with Orthodox Jews, and I can speak with seculars, and I can speak with Muslims, and I can speak to some extent with Buddhists, and to lower extents with Hindus. And all of this is because I honored, at least partially, the traditions. And I lived with them enough, some more, many less, to come from a place of respect, honor, and understanding for the particular tradition.
Yes, yes.
Okay?
That makes sense.
If God gives you an order, you have to live a certain life. My life was not ordered to be that of an Orthodox Jew.
What order has God given you?
Well, at this point, He's giving me the order to become a musician. But
And how did that come? Did you hear Anomarel?
well,
Get thee to a music school.
No, God sent a very powerful messenger. It was called chemotherapy.
Ah, yes, I know.
So,
tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I about, what was it, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with late stage colon cancer.
Late stage, my God.
Yeah, I was what they call a couple more months and
Jesus.
yeah, and all others.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously I'm okay.
You look great.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy path to get okay. But one of the things that happened with the treatments, and the treatments for that kind of cancer are not easy. Radiation, chemotherapy, operation.
Jesus.
Chemotherapy again for like 7 months, and heavy, really heavy chemo. Among other things, it strips everything down from you.
Yes.
It strips you completely. There's almost nothing left. One of the first things that got lost by chemotherapy is my capacity to study. To open a book, literally. I couldn't.
Okay.
So I kind of very rapidly was everything that I could do, everything that I was used to, everything that I had was taken away slowly. What was left was what I was. And one of the few things I could still do and still wanted to do and still helped me during the chemotherapy was playing music. I couldn't do much. I was exhausted most of the time and feeling like shit. But the little that I could was a lot.
All right, let's hear some of that music.
Okay.
We've got about 15 minutes left on the radio show. Now tell our audience, some of the audience is watching this on Elijah's Codes on the YouTube, and some are just listening. What is this amazing thing that you have here in your hands?
Well, different names in different places. Generally, this would be called a saz, or a long neck balama. It's today mostly a Turkish instrument. It is sacred to the Bektashi Alevi tradition in Turkey. It is the instrument that they play in their ceremonies. You can find it everywhere from Crete up to Azerbaijan and certain areas of Persia, versions of it. And I play mostly out of the Turkish and Azeri traditions with those artists.
And you travel the world a lot now with Nora.
Yeah.
And so you get to some of these places, and you get to play with the locals, isn't that right?
It's getting there. I go to Istanbul on a regular basis, and I have many deep friends there today, like really truly like brothers and family that I sit and I play with. I have not gotten to Azerbaijan yet, but there's a plan to do so.
There's a Yofi, Anomarel. That's beautiful. Okay. So what are you going to play for us?
Well, I'm probably going to just improvise a bit, but I'm going to improvise in the form that is most traditional for the Alevi Bektashi Sufis. And you can see it gives a very... Well, you know what? I'm not going to describe it. I'll let you experience it.
Okay,
You describe it
but try to
afterwards.
save a little for the other beautiful, amazing instruments as well.
Well, it's the same thing, just smaller.
Okay. Then don't worry about it. Okay. Wow, wow, wow.
So now you tell me what this music is about.
It's about opening the heart and dance. You betcha.
Exactly.
I could just imagine myself dancing in that circular dance. You know, anybody who's seen the Sufis dance, and the music takes them to other worlds, literally.
True. That's what
And
music is going to do.
yes. Oh, we could talk about that a little.
That's what I thought we were going to do.
But you've had such a full life. What could I do? Why the name Anomarel?
Well, okay. Since you had a big part in why that name lives with me. Well, it was a name that I received out of asking a question years and years and years ago, maybe 12 years ago. it was kind of an idiosyncratic moment. Somebody was talking about something else, and I overheard somebody talking about, I think, star names or essence names or something.
What, angel names?
Angel names, yeah, right, angel names. You're right. I think there was a book out.
By Solara.
By Solara, exactly. I think they were talking out of that, but I never asked. And one person was calling another person by his star name or his angel name, and I heard that, and I asked what it was, and they said it was his angel name or his star name, and I said, whoa, that's very interesting. And I asked myself in my head, kind of, well, that's interesting. Do I have one? And God, did that answer come. I mean, I was struck with one of the most, I don't know, shocking, not in a bad way, but just, I was dumbfounded, dumbstruck by the power of the vision. It was, you laugh at this, but the closest thing that I felt up until that point was when I was a kid. I mistakenly put my fingers into 20,000 volts. It was something like that, and I couldn't even say that I heard the name or saw the name. I knew the name.
Whoa!
And I stood, and my two friends that were there kind of caught on that something happened, and they looked at me and they said, "What just happened?" And I said, "I asked a stupid question." I said, "What did you ask?" I said, "Well, I asked what's my." I don't even know how I phrased the question. That's the truth. I have no idea.
Okay.
And they said, "Okay, so say it out loud." Apparently, there was something in the method that you needed to say it out loud.
There are techniques. There are techniques.
Okay, so apparently that was the idea. So I did, and they literally flew backwards. Literally, I mean, physically flew backwards about half a meter each and sat on the ground.
Whoa!
Now here's the thing. What happens afterwards? I had no idea what to do with this. I was not about to change my name. I have absolutely no problem with the name I was born with. And Rotem, for those of you who will ask the question to themselves in their heads.
Rotem.
Yeah, that's the name I was born with. I was pretty happy with the name. I had really no problem with it. And I really had no intention to change it. So the name, at that moment, there was all this, all this experience, and there was nothing really to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of stayed. It was very useful because not many people had that name. Obviously, no one had that name. So I could use it as an internet name without having to add numbers after my name.
Yes.
There's no Anomarel 2.
Yes, that's right.
So that was very useful. And then one day I go to visit a very dear friend of mine, who happens to sit in the chair on my left.
Oh yeah.
And we talk about these star names and these essence names and these angelic names, and I tell my good friend that I actually know mine, and he says, "Really? Why don't you use it? Why don't you take that name? Why don't you live with it?" And honestly, I didn't have a good answer. I did have quite a strange response to the question. I was mortified. I almost peed my pants.
You were, yeah.
I didn't know what to do with this. So, I went home, and I thought about it. And being the spiritual pit bull that I am, meaning if there's something there, I'll take a bite and I'm not going to let go until I get to it.
That's for sure.
So, I tried to figure out what was going on. And I need to reset your head.
Yes. Okay.
This is so...
first time this has ever happened. Okay, continue.
Well, you know what? I do get genetic attacks. So.
Okay.
I figured I never found the answer, what I was afraid of. What I did decide, I said, okay, I'm going to give this space. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to give it space. Now, what ended up happening is that within 3 or 4 months, the name that I was born with, if I could paint a picture, I would say, if I could paint the letters of my name, my original name, in just paint them, they became first gray and then white and then disappeared completely.
Whoa.
To the point that you would call me on the street and I would not recognize my own name.
Okay.
It was just taken.
Okay.
So I really, in a way, didn't choose this. I never actually consciously wanted to change my name. It kind of happened. Within half a year of changing my name, we moved out of Jerusalem. I met my teacher, had my second child, and became religious. So you could say that the name kind of changed my life. Now, as a PS to this, I had a conversation with a rabbi that I studied with for a while, Rabbi Abraham Lieder. I don't know if you know him.
No.
Okay, so I had a conversation with him because it's not very customary to change names in Judaism in this way.
Yes.
And definitely not customary to take a name that has no reference in Judaism.
You bet.
And carries the name of God within it.
Yes.
So all in all, a very unorthodox choice.
You bet.
Yeah. So I asked him about it because I wasn't sure that was the correct thing to do, and he actually found a place in the Arizal's writings that described what happened to me almost word for word.
In his own life?
No, he described it as a possible spiritual occurrence.
Okay. Arizal's the Ari?
The Ari, yes.
Okay, the great Kabbalist. And do you know, in the Telos books, the very, very famous Telos books, by Aurelia Louise Jones, who's passed on, about the Lemurian city under Mount Shasta, one of the great masters of the city of Telos, a fifth-dimensional Lemurian city underneath Mount Shasta, I do believe it, and I recommend the books. One of the great leaders of that city is a being called Anomarel. As you know, I've told you that.
Yes, you have.
Yes. So this name is, it's got a lot in it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it seems to. People ask me if it has any meaning, and I would say that if I had to give it a meaning, it would be a vibratory meaning. It's not, how letters carry vibrations.
Yes, I know.
So when you organize letters in a particular way, you get a vibratory signature or a vibratory
That's right.
essence.
That's right.
It's not the letters themselves per se, but never mind. It's not really in the letters.
Okay. But the sound in the letters.
The sound in the letters and the way you pronounce it and everything else carries a vibratory. So I would say that the name carries a certain vibratory signature. What it is, I couldn't tell you. I also, years ago I asked my teacher whether I should change my name fully, like in the ID card.
Yes.
She wrote me a list of all the names that she goes by.
Many.
Yeah, and she said, which of them is me?
Okay, Anomarel, how can people contact you? Maybe even to hire you to play in weddings or whatever.
Well, I have a phone number.
Which is what?
052 3769 323.
Okay, so Anomarel, it's been a thrill, and I've learned a lot. And thank you all, and
blessings to you, my brother,
and blessings to all of us. Okay, God bless us all.
All right,
as Tiny Tim said in Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. Okay, all righty, bye bye.